Today we are going to talk about Docker volumes, Docker storage. Okay, so for a host, a simple host, if I want to run a container and that container should have a stateful in nature. It means that it should have a volume attached so that the data we can make it persistent if my container is going down or getting restarted, or even if I'm deleting the container, only the container, and then creating again the same container, then my volume should be intact. So there are the volume. Okay, let's get started. Here I'm in my lab and I am here with my Docker prompt. There are no containers running. There are no images so far. Okay, so I'll tell you first we will try to run a any kind of a stateful container where we can create the state, we can maintain the state, and we can validate it also. So the command we will follow, like how we used to follow the command docker image to manage the images, docker container to manage the containers, docker network to manage the network. At the same time, we will use docker volume to manage the volume. Now, if I try to check here that docker volume and hyphen hyphen help, it will tell me that how many commands options available which we can use with docker volume. So one is create. It's very easy. Create. This command will create the volume. ls will list the number of volumes we have already in our docker host. Prune will remove all unused local volume. rm we can remove any one or more multiple volumes, same like uh, rm command we run with containers to delete the containers. Inspect will display the detailed information about the volume. So we will use all of these commands. We'll try to understand all of these commands. All right. So first we'll try to see that if I run volume list or volume ls, what it shows is I have one local volume. So this is not in use, I know. So we will try to delete it. So deletion of a volume, list of a volume, we understand. Now if I want to create a volume, let's say create MyDB. So MyDB will be the name of the volume. And if I run docker volume ls again, I can see that there is a volume name as MyDB. If I want to delete, then volume and then rm command I can use. Okay, and then whatever the volume name is that I can copy and do a paste, and the volume gets deleted. Now if I run again docker volume ls, we can see that there is a single volume MyDB available, right? So now how we will use this volume so that we can mount it inside our container directory structure, right? So first we'll try to pull a MySQL 5.7. We could run 5.8.0 as well. So I'm going to pull a MySQL 8.0 database image. Okay, so we'll try to run this MySQL. Okay, there we will see that how environment variable somebody can pass while running or creating the container, and how the containers pick up the environment variable values. So this is a very good way of handling environment variable. We will create a separate uh, video mainly on the environment variable, that how we manage the environment variable inside a container. Okay, so you can see here that I have MySQL 8.0 image, and if I want to see docker images command will list down all the images we have. So we can see that 8.0 is the current MySQL image. I will try to run a container with this image so that I can run MySQL server. So I will use the docker command, docker run -d in a detached mode, we all know, and then --name mydb, the container name, okay, and then the image name or image ID, anything I can pass. So if I try to run here, right, then, and if I have to expose the port, then I can expose the port with -p option. With -p, I will give 3306. I want to map with 3306. Okay, So this is how this works. If I run and then I see Docker PS, so it shows that the container is not running. Why container is not running? If I run Docker PS-a, I can easily see that 9 seconds back the container was created, but unfortunately it is in exited state. For what reason? To understand, it's better to check out the logs. So if I will try to run this command docker logs and the container name as mydb, it will show me the logs, and it is saying that the database is initialized, uninitialized, and the password option is not specified. So you have to specify any of these. So let's say MySQL root password. So this is environment variable. You see here that the following as an environment variable, right? So what happens is in a containerized format of MySQL server, when you run MySQL containers, then the MySQL container will get the MySQL root password from the environment variable so that it can initialize, and while initializing then it will create the MySQL database, and underneath then the root passwords it will set. Okay, so there are multiple other environment variables also using which you can control entirely your MySQL container, but we will talk about MySQL root password first so that we can understand how we use environment variable and at the same time how we can specify the volume. So let me run this. We will delete this container. So docker rm mydb here, and then I will run docker run command again, but at this time with hyphen p, right? I will pass environment variable argument also. So I will give hyphen e, and with hyphen e I will give mysql root password, and then is equals to any root password. So let's say I'm giving my secret, my password. My password is my password here. Okay, so enter. And then now if I run docker ps, what I see is that my container is running. Okay, my container is running this time. So if I run docker logs mydb again, what I see is with hyphen f option I can take this in a telf mode. So here we see that the configuration started, the entry point started, here the socket started running, and insecure connections, the X plugin ready for connection. When we see ready for connection, it means that my container is fine, it's running. Okay, so we will do control C, and my container is running. So what I'll do is I'll try to get into the container so that we can create any database. Okay, persistency with volume is something we are trying to achieve here. So docker exec hyphen it, and then mydb, and I will give sh option. So with shell I am inside the container now, and here if I want to run let's say MySQL only, then it will say root password is required. So I will give MySQL and then hyphen u root is anyways already there, and with p, and then I will give my password without space, right? So I'm there in the prompt, and if I run show databases here, we will see that there are 4 default databases available. So I will try to create a database here, create database and mydb, right? So it's created, and show databases. We can see that mydb database has been created. So I'm going to quit now, and I will come out from the container as well. And now we will try to delete the container, right? So if I'm running docker rm mydb -f, the container has got deleted. If I run again the container, we are actually we have lost the database information, right? Why? Because this database and whatever, let's say I could insert any I could create any table, and I could insert any table information as well, but then in that case also everything would have gone, right? So make it persistent. What I need to do is, we all know that MySQL keeping everything uh, inside var db, var lib and MySQL. So if somehow we can mount external volume to var lib MySQL, right? Then we can store the database. So what I'm going to run is I will again do rm mydb, okay, here, and then we have one volume created, right? So docker volume ls. Here is my DB volume. These volumes also gets created randomly with the container itself. Okay, so we can delete all of them anyways. So unused volumes we can run. For unused volume, what is the prune command? Let's try to run. So docker volume prune and then -y. So if you run this, you will see that all the unused uh, volumes have got deleted. So docker volume ls. We see MyDB here. So MyDB is I have created now, and MyDB I want to mount. So to mount MyDB at container, how I will run? Let's try to run here. So volume, you can give -v option, and then in port section also we first give the host and then we give the container. So here also we will give the host and then we will give the container. So host means MyDB here in this case. So MyDB and where colon and then where we want to mount it. We want to mount at the place where lib MySQL. Now if I run this, right, this container, then this time the container docker logs mydb -f. This time the container is initializing and it is keeping every database information in varlib MySQL, but varlib MySQL has static contents now. So even if I delete this container, let's say, the mount point or external volume is not getting deleted. It means that if I run the container again, I will get that data back. So I'm basically securing my data. I'm making it persistent, right? So let's try to see here. So I will run my SQL exec, sorry, the database. So docker exec hyphen it idb sh, and then here mysql hyphen u root hyphen p my password, and then show databases. I'm just trying to create a database. So create database, let's say, giving a name as Vijay. Okay, so database, what it is showing me as Vijay. So fair enough. Let's come out from here. Okay, now if I run docker ps, we all know that the container name as mydb is running. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and if I see now, right, the volume, so docker volume ls, we say that there is only mydb. All right, so with mysql container initialization, there was earlier without giving precise mount point and precise volume, there was random volume created, right, which we have pruned now. So this time, since we have already gave our own volume section, so that is why it has not created anything else, but it is utilizing the volume which we have provided. So local mydb is there now. So what I'm going to do is I will try to run docker rm -f mydb. See, the container I have deleted. If I'm running docker ps -a, there's nothing running, not in exited state, not in running state. So I will run the docker container command again. So docker run. And you see here, I'm trying to run the same command, same image, same password, and same volume I'm getting mapped while creating this container. So here, and the container ID, container has got created, docker ps, if you see the container is running. And if I run MySQL, sorry, the docker exec hyphen it and then mydb sh, right, and then I will run mysql hyphen u root hyphen p my password, and then I am running simply show databases, right, and you see here that the Vijay database is there. It means any table I would have created, everything would have been here. Why? Because the data persistency with a volume we have enabled here. In the same way, you can run, or without volume also you can make some data persistency if you want to map the host volume. How we can do that? Let's try to see. So I'm running docker rm-f mydb. It's got deleted. Docker volume ls docker volume, and I want to now delete the volume itself. So rm and then the volume name, which is mydb. It's gone, right? So no volume and nothing. So this time what I want to do is that I have at this place inside my folder, I want to create a MySQL data. This is a folder I want to create. So I'm going to create mkdir, and this has been created, right? If you run ls MySQL data, you find out that there is nothing. But this time I want to run Docker container of my SQL, but the mapping, I don't want to map the volume which I have created, but instead I want to map the host path. So if you see host path, the full path I have to mention here, right? Don't forget to mention full path. Absolute, no. Relative, no, sorry. Absolute path we have to define, no relative path. So home, then we have Vijay, and then we have MySQL data. So this is a path. You see, MySQL data is a directory inside home Vijay, and this directory I'm going to mount at this place where live MySQL inside my MySQL database container. So if I'm running, and if you see docker logs -f mydb, we see that the database initialization has happened. Database initialization, right? And if we see ready for the connection, here the ready for the connection, it means that we are good. But if I run ls, right, and ls and then MySQL data, then we see that there is a MySQL .socket file also, MySQL IBD, and the database related everything what was the content of where lib MySQL. Now this is part of here. It means that the container has initialized, but while initializing all the database related contents and static configuration, it has put up here in the host directory which was mapped to varlib MySQL. So this is how things are working inside container, and this is how we can manage container uh, states, or we can say that the static volume attachment with docker volume command. Okay, so this is it for today. We will understand the environment variable, etc., later on in some other video. Till then, bye bye. Please don't forget to subscribe the channel and like.